Some years ago, I had a plague in my family that lasted for 5 years. And every 2 years, or about 1 year, 6 months, a hawk comes from Hades and picks somebody. It's as if the devil planned a timetable for the family. And almost everybody died in March. The devil was posing an affront. I came 1 year, 4 months ago. I will come again. And I was doing religion. The devil came, picked my mother. I was going to church every week, speaking in tongues. The devil came again, took my father's younger brother, who all of us were looking up to as a pillar. The devil came again, took my younger brother, my elder brother. The devil came again, took my cousin, as if death a timetable was written. And when the time comes, you know that something is about to happen and somebody dies. And one day, I went to the Lord and God told me, if you don't rise, all of you will die. Until the devil came again for my father. And that was the day I said, enough is enough. It's either this thing is true or I tear this Bible. Because I don't want to read a storybook. There are 1,001 storybooks. If this is not true, and if I cannot prove this, I will not preach it again. And I rose up in battle. The same midnight prayer that God was drawing me to as the basis for relationship that I refused to do for 5 years. That midnight prayer would have been the reason why my mother would have been alive. My brother would have been alive. My uncle would have been alive. My cousin would have been alive. When God was calling me to relationship, I thought it was something I could do whether I want it or not. I didn't know that life depended on it. I didn't know that destinies depended on it. And as I rose up that night and took my place in priesthood, suddenly the death did not just stop. The architect died. And he didn't die mysteriously. He confessed before he died. When I rose up at night, I discovered because I refused to have a relationship with God, somebody else who had a relationship with the devil was plundering my family. And my father, that was diagnosed of prostate cancer and spinal disorder, in 3 days suddenly became well. Everything vanished. And in that 3 days, somebody else, his leg began to decay. Because transactions were happening in the spirit. And I was walking about, calling myself an apostle, walking about, speaking in tongues, whereas transactions were taking place. Those who knew the way of spirit were manipulating the outcomes of men. Leg decayed until he confessed and died. From that day, I said, no day will pass that my gap in the spirit will be empty. Everything God demands, I will walk into it. Because it's not just about the relationship, it's about the name you come out with. That name will become an umbrella for many others. If you don't do it, many will die. If you don't do it, many will be frustrated. If you don't do it, many will be hopeless. Because God is looking for one man. He sent his word to Jacob and he lightened upon Israel. If one man will rise and build a relationship, a generation can be born. And this man talking to you today would have died. Because when they killed my father, I would have become the only male. And they would have taken me off with my religion. They would have taken me off with my title. They would have taken me off with my loud and intelligent preaching. I realized there are things deeper than a message. There are things deeper than a title. There are things deeper than the approval of men. It's called the relationship. Where are you standing with God? Some time ago, a professor of neurosurgery had his whole family molested by a 10-year-old girl who had intelligence in another realm. Mighty on earth, but tiny in the spirit. Because there was not enough relationship to command things where it happens. I saw a sad situation of a family, 35 years old family, driving home for holidays and had accident. And everybody was killed. Because there was nobody that had authority in the spirit. There was nobody that had understanding. A demon, a demonized girl, going to do IT on the road and messes up with the whole family. Because nobody paid the price to have a name in the spirit. But when you walk with God, there are realms you get to. You don't even need to command demons. When you show up, they know you are around.